What's happening, everybody? Kyle Postlewaite, aka Malk here at Big Kitty Games, also known as my rickety house in the Japanese countryside. Just wanted to cover some topics real quick, kind of explain what's going on, where I think the game is right now, and where I think it's going. Um, we have released out of early access as a version 1.0, and it's pretty obvious to most people that that was a bit preemptive or a little bit rushed, and so we're getting some negative reviews for that, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. And so, for starters, I've talked about this a few times throughout this year, which probably most people aren't aware of, but on Patreon, a little bit on Steam and on YouTube and some things, how basically the game was actually losing me money more and more. So basically, my bank account was getting smaller and smaller every month, to the point where I actually had to borrow money this month to pay my bills. So I literally went broke trying to make Solace Crafting. And when you're working in that environment of, you get up every morning and it's like, I'm 39, my wife and I are trying to have kids, and I don't have any money, and I'm having less money every month that goes by. It's really stressful. And it's actually super demoralizing, to try and sit down and really work for 8 hours on a project every day, thinking, what am I doing with my life? So I unfortunately kind of backed myself into a corner at the end here and did release the game in a state that is not appreciated by some people. And I apologize for that. I understand that. There's some bugs. I'm already fixed a few this week. Got more coming this today, and tomorrow's Saturday here, and I'll be working all day Saturday. So things are getting better, but in the most recent Patreon video that I posted just a few weeks ago here, basically I outlined three possible outcomes to releasing as I did. One was that the game would flop. We'd get review bombed or whatever, and it just wouldn't really make any money. In that case, basically the game would likely be abandoned. I would have to go get a full-time job, and maybe by next year my wife and I are having kids, and I've got a full-time job with a 45-minute commute every morning and back, and you know likely the game just would never have gotten finished, and over 3-4 years later it would have just been abandoned, and that would be a huge bummer for me and for everybody that likes the game. The second option was that the game kind of makes some money, but still really not enough. Maybe I can stay in game development for a while, but actually maybe it would be more intelligent for me to refocus my, you know, much more, I'm much more experienced now than I am when I started in 2016. So maybe I should refocus my efforts on a smaller scale project, more fitting for a solo developer, right? But I think now we can actually say that we have 99% cleared both of those scenarios. We are now actually successfully in the third scenario of the game actually sells quite well. And I'm able to continue development on Solace Crafting. And we're only less than 3.5 days into release here. And I'm still making a decent amount of sales. So I think the initial Steam visibility boost that you get for releasing your game, I think it lasts 30 days. And there's lots of keys floating around now for content creators, review websites, things like that, that probably aren't going to start showing up until the weekend or next week, things like that. So hopefully there's some momentum building, and at least the sales trajectory that is day one is always the burst, but it's not like it's bottomed out or anything like that. So hopefully it keeps going in this direction, and I'm actually going to have some resources available to me, also spelled money, to bring on freelancers to help me make the game better. And this is really just kind of the way that it looks to me is how a lot of all of my favorite games have started. Minecraft or Rust is a great example. It started out as a zombie shooter game. I think it was just made by a couple guys for fun, but they got some money, and a couple guys turned into a few more guys, and then they got some more money. And now Rust is this huge worldwide phenomenon. So I feel like we're at that first stage where I've finally gotten a little bit of money, and I'm actually now going to be able to bring on some people to make the things that I'm just not good at better. And so I kind of wanted to talk about those a little bit real quick, and kind of wanted to talk about them from the perspective of the people that are leaving negative reviews, because we are getting some negative reviews. Some people aren't happy that the game has been released as a version 1.0. But always and forever in my head, version 1.0 has not meant the end of the road. Again, I did kind of come out more prematurely than I wanted to, but it was kind of, most of the other options were much more likely leading towards the game getting abandoned. And that's not what I want to happen. So I did release a bit prematurely, but it's moving in the best direction possible right now. So huge thanks to everybody that has participated in early access and that has joined us in these past 3.5 days. But yeah, there are some people that are upset about that happening the way that it has and are leaving negative reviews. And the majority of them, from what I can tell, are complaining about one of three things. And so one of those is the graphic quality. And this is kind of the silliest of them, honestly, in my opinion. And this is all just my opinion. I'm just saying stuff. Of course, you're free to leave your review however you want to, and you're free to disagree with me or think something else on any of the things I'm going to say here. And please feel free to comment and correct me or whatever. But you can look at the screenshots. You can look at people playing the game on YouTube and Twitch and things like that and see what the graphics look like. So, it's not like anybody's trying to trick anybody into thinking that the game looks like The Witcher 4 or, something like that, because it, up until now, has been made by me and only me with no money at all. So, it's really, there's nothing I could do about that. I could spend another 12 months trying to make the graphics look better, and they really wouldn't get that much better. It's just one very complicated profession that I'm not good at. If I spent a few years getting way better at 3D modeling, shaders, and things like that, yeah, I could make the game look better. But everything else would have to be put to the side for me to do that. So that's not a good way to do things. But if there is money involved in the project, which now there is a little bit, I can hire on people. That's actually one of the very few things that I have spent money over the past 4 years on, is hiring someone to make graphics for me. Because, again, it's just something I'm not good at. So people that are complaining about that, I hear you, but honestly, fun and content is, in my opinion, much, much more important than just trying to make the game look prettier than it is. So that certainly does have room for improvement, of course, and the longer the project goes and the more resources we're able to garner over time, the more likely it is that the graphics will improve. But again, I consider that a bit low priority. The second one is the controls. This one I understand a lot more. And by controls, I mean, we mean the way that like combat feels, the way your character blends between animations when you're moving. I've seen a lot of people saying they don't like how the character's feet don't match the running speed against the ground always. And I could go into why that's a problem, why that's hard to do, but basically because you can change your character height and your feet are bigger and smaller and this and that. But anyway, I very much understand that, and it's just something that I don't personally pay a lot of attention to because that's just not how my brain works. It's just not something that bothers me. I do have a really cool peer game developer friend of mine that has helped me a lot out over the years that has very different skills than I do. And so he has helped me to recognize some of those blind spots that I have. And that's one that he's always talking about is how my character controllers and animations just are not good enough. So that is actually one of the things that I'm very interested in immediately putting resources towards improving. Now, the money that is coming in right now from the initial sales won't actually get to me until October. Steam payouts work at the end of the next month, so I'm actually still totally broke right now. So I do, unfortunately, it's not something that I can dive into immediately, but that is definitely something that I'm very interested in hiring on some help specifically for improving because, again, it's something that I'm bad at, and it would be a bad use of my time to try and really thoroughly improve that to a much better system. So again, people leaving negative reviews for that, they're not incorrect. I understand that, and again, I just think that we're at this kind of starting point where things are going to start getting a lot better than that. And unfortunately, for some people, they want to label 1.0 as the end of the road, and I'm just trying to really put out here that that's not what this is. So sorry if that is upsetting to you, but the third common theme that I see and understand very well is the user interface. And again, this is just something that I'm really bad at. And actually, a lot of the user interface that is currently in the game is stuff that I built, some of it back as early as 2017. I've always known that it's bad. It's just, if I want to spend months on trying to make it better, there's still only this, mediocre level that I'm going to be able to make things better because it's just not something that I'm good at. Much better approach to improving the user interface will be for me to actually hire on someone specifically to do that again. And now that I've got the resources to do that, it is looking like, again, hopefully sales continue at least somewhat along the trajectory that they're currently going. So I don't have to tiptoe around this too much, but list up all of the needs and the end goals of what the user interface needs to have and be, and have someone really create that from scratch. And I'm a good programmer. I can program that just fine, but trying to actually organize and draw the user interface, they'd say UI/UX, meaning user experience. That's just not something that I'm good at, unfortunately. So again, visual quality, not so much. That's probably going to be further down the road. Hopefully we will get the controls and the animation and things working a lot better, as well as the user interface looking and feeling a lot better. And then that'll kind of take us to a second stage where we can, and while that's ongoing, of course, I'll be adding, further fleshing out the town systems and making dungeons more interesting and some of these things that the game needs. And we'll be able to reach, a sort of second stage where we can then attract another big group of players, because there are 193 million users per month on Steam. We haven't reached 0.001% of them yet. And again, rightly so. The game is not amazing. It's a really decent start, I think, but of course there's a lot of problems with it. So I'm not trying to bash on people that are leaving negative reviews. Of course, as the developer that has spent 6 years of his life trying to do the best he can, I'm not lying, trying to do my best here. It is a bummer when people come in and want to suggest that other people don't support me. Yeah, it's a little weird, but they're not wrong. It's not like people are just well, some people are kind of just making stuff up, but the majority of them are legitimately complaining about things that the game is, needs work in the game, definitely needs improvement. So I just wanted to make that clear that sales have actually been doing decent, doing more than good enough for me to stay full-time development on Solace Crafting, and also to get me out of that horrible environment of waking up every morning thinking, when am I going to be homeless? So I'm a lot more motivated here these days. I'm swamped with emails and messages and stuff right now, so I do apologize if I haven't responded to a variety of different platforms and stuff I got coming in from all different angles. And I wasn't sleeping well at all for the past few days, but I did sleep really well last night finally. So anyway, I hope that things continue again down this trajectory, and we can just, the more resources I have, the better we can make the game. That's just really how it works. I was really interested in self-publishing this from day one. And that's become less of a, concern for me lately. There's a lot of pretty cool publishers out in the world there right now. But not so many years ago, there really weren't. And a lot of games got really screwed over by evil publishers and, marketing teams that would just shut a game down after a while. And so I wanted to make 100% sure that kind of thing never happened. So I was always interested in going down the self-publishing road. And releasing early like this was really scary. I didn't know, again, if it was just going to flop and I was just going to lose everything or what. But huge thanks to everybody that has joined us so far, because the game has not flopped. I do have enough funding to stay in this game, and it's looking like I'm going to have extra funding to be able to bring on some help to fix those specific things, again, that I'm just really not good at. So yay. Thank you so much, everybody. I will keep in touch. We got people bringing in bug reports on Discord. I'm about to sit down here for the next 6 or 7 hours to try and fix some stuff. So please feel free to let me know if you run into anything. That's my job, fixing the stuff. Yeah, so riding the wave for a little bit here. Hopefully we can really turn the volume up here over the next 6 to 9 months and get to step 2, get to step 3, get to step 4, Empyrean, 7 Days to Die, Rust, I love all of these games that have really stuck through it. No Man's Sky is a great example. They just stayed true, stuck to their guns, and the game is awesome. And I really hope that we can follow down that path in a similar fashion of, just keeping the ball rolling, getting things better and better and better, slowly expanding. So that's my hopes and dreams. Again, apologies to people that are kind of upset that the game was released as early as it was. But even in hindsight and what I kind of did think that it was a bit of a gamble at the time, but I think that was kind of really the only option I had left to me. And that's luckily has led so far down the best route possible. So I will stay in touch, and I ramble a lot, so I'm going to end the video. I'm really bad at ending videos, but thank you very much, everybody, and all of that. And I love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Have a nice day. Happy gaming.